So just to start with the introduction of the NLP Center of New York, why do we call ourselves NLP and yet we're teaching an Ericksonian hypnosis class? So with a little bit of history for you to understand that neurolinguistic programming, which you could say is a big umbrella for personal communication, whether it's interpersonal or whether intrapersonal, when that began in the mid 70s, the early developers interviewed Milton Erickson. And Milton Erickson was a psychiatrist who had designed his own style of hypnosis. So if anybody's thinking about, the swinging clock or, something that would be, more stage hypnosis, it wasn't Milton Erickson. Milton Erickson was much more of a person who looked at you, and hopefully even with the online experience, you could feel, that as I look into the camera, that I see you, that I'm looking and seeing what resources you bring. And his belief is that, and what we teach, is that everybody has all the resources they need at their next developmental level. So if you're working with young children, they may not have the resource of perspective, right? That's where the adult would come in. As an adult, and we teach anybody over 18 and up until their, late 90s, right? That's our range. There's often this ability to say, oh yeah, what resource do I have? Even the idea of being resourceful could be useful. So NLP, one of the early developers was asked how much of hypnosis is inside of NLP, and their response was 2/3. So it is quite a bit. But here, we actually are focusing on hypnosis. So if you look at our website, you'll see we offer NLP classes and hypnosis classes. And there is a preview on April 4th in the evening for NLP. So as you realize, you could be looking at both. You could be looking at how to increase your best communication with both. Hello there. Talvina, if you want, you can be on screen, but most people are not. So it's up to you how, thank you. And then we'll just make sure everybody is muted so we don't get background noise. So what would happen in a hypnosis class that you could say is what's different than with the NLP is that in hypnosis, we start right away communicating with how to bring both the conscious mind and the unconscious into an exploration together for your benefit, right? It's all about, I had somebody most recently saying, hey, can you help me stop nail biting, right? Can you help me stop vaping? So sometimes it's a very specific habit change. Sometimes it's the other extreme. I'm anxious, I'm stressed out, and stress, it exists, right? And it could be about any of our life contexts, stressed out about family, stressed out about kids, whether they're young or adult children, stressed out about aging, stressed out about work. We could go on and on, right? So you could say, oh, well, then what's the difference between regular therapy and hypnosis, right? That would be an interesting question. Or what's the difference between hypnosis and mindfulness? Because mindfulness is more and more in our culture, right? So we're going to start with that. Now, if you have questions, you could always send them in the chat to me. And, just to realize that for us, myself, Stephen Leeds, and our team, our training team, we have adapted to the online training. We also have an in-person training. So we're very comfortable with online. Just to say the difference right now would be you would all be on screen for online training. We would all be part of a group where you get to know each other and you share, as well as creating opportunities to practice. So I've been doing NLP and Ericksonian hypnosis since the late 80s. Had a lot of practice, right? I do my own early morning practice. I'm consistent and I work with clients ongoingly. So I have a lot of practice. What we do with our participants is we create online breakout rooms, which many of you may know about, so that, let's say there are two of you who are not familiar with each other, but with this, ability online, we just put you into the breakout room. You've watched a demonstration, because that's how we usually work, is we would invite somebody up, we do a demonstration, and then you would go into breakout rooms. One person would be the hypnotist, one person would be the client, and you would work on something that we've demonstrated. So again, you could say, oh, that could sound like therapy, right? And it's not that it's not therapeutic. It's just that it's done in a different way. So one time I went to a Ericksonian conference, and Jeff Zeig, who's one of the people who had made sure, let's say, that the Ericksonian hypnosis lived on. Dr. Erickson passed away in 1980. So it's been quite a long time, right, in terms of him living on. That he said that he sees Ericksonian hypnosis as experiential psychotherapy. So what does that mean, experiential? Well, perhaps, if we just take that word, experience, giving somebody an experience, but it might not only be what I'm doing right now. It may not only be in language. It may be quieting for a moment and noticing your body, right? It might be beginning to pay attention. Right now, even here, I'm slowing down. So learning to shift our tempo and create an awareness of openness. So the Ericksonian hypnosis explores all the resources that we have, explores in our training how to help somebody to do that moment of slowing down. We call that the induction. And then, depending upon the goals, to be able to go deeper into an experience. And, I'm often reminded that hypnosis has like a myth around it, it goes back to this kind of magic moment where the hypnotist is the authority. And the myth really has to be kind of shooken up a little bit to say, we believe you have all the answers within you, and we are more of a guide to that deeper place for yourself. So in a class, and just to let you know, we have 3 classes coming up. There's a first one coming up in June, which will be on Fridays from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. All of this you can see online, but just to be clear for you to know about it, that class would be every Friday. But of course, there are some holidays and et cetera that we don't have for the class. And if you like online learning, that would be the way to go. As long as you're in New York, we will have an in-person training beginning late October on Sundays. And that will also be from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And there is another class that will begin early October online on Saturdays. So there are 3 possible hypnosis classes that you could sign up for, but you're only signing up for one, right? You're only signing up for one class. And in that class, myself or Stephen Leeds most often are the main trainers. We don't train together, we would take turns. And we start with this moment of getting to know you. So as I'm sharing, if there's a question that comes up, even if you're not on screen, but you want to ask a question, again, we had about 33 people register and we have about 6 people who attended, right? So it's absolutely fine for you to ask a question that will help you make a decision about whether to attend or just help you understand something more about our hypnosis. So I'll keep on going, but again, if you have a question, let me know. So we know a little bit about why, NLP and hypnosis, right? We understand that it's therapy-like, of course. If you're a therapist, if you have a training as a mental health therapist, then you're adding to your skills as a hypnotherapist. If you don't have the medical or the licensed mental health um, training, you would call yourself a hypnotist. And that would be very clear wherever, in New York State, whatever state you're living in, that you would understand, the difference, that what you're promising somebody or helping yourself with would be helping them with goals, helping them deal with different issues. And you would know on a level of what you can handle, what you can't. So as I started, I said, I most recently was contacted to help somebody stop nail biting. So a lot of times the hypnosis has to do with habits, but it also could be dealing with stress, as I said. It could also be dealing with internal dialogue, in terms of, unfortunately, many of my clients will say negative things to themselves, and helping them find out about the part of them that is communicating that. So I'm emphasizing the part of them because that's another aspect of the Ericksonian training. One, I said, is that we have all the resources we need, right, at each developmental level. The other is to say every part of us, and here I was just talking about like a internal dialogue that may not be useful, but it could also be a feeling, it could be a symptom, has some positive purpose. And that's often very hard for somebody consciously to accept, my migraines don't do anything for me, right? Or my anger doesn't do anything for me, or my grudge doesn't do anything for me. And so in the beginning of learning how to relax into our bodies, we also learn how to communicate with that part of us. And again, that might sound very unusual, right? To be open to the conversation of that. Now, we mentioned how there's the myth about hypnosis, and then some of this overlaps with psychotherapy, right? It could also overlap with mindfulness or meditation or stress management. So I'd like to give you a little bit of the difference, just to recognize whatever you're doing right now. As long as you're not driving a car, okay, you could take a moment to settle in, right? You could notice your breathing and feel where your feet are. Usually we encourage people to do a hypnosis process with their feet on the ground, so that it's a more centered, grounded place. Some clients want to lie down, and I know when to be flexible. I also know that lying down sometimes leads to falling asleep, and we're really not doing, sort of sleep work here. So it is similar, you could say, with any beginning process of mindfulness or meditation or stress management, where there's that opportunity to slow down and notice your breathing. So, my suggestion is, there's part of you that's listening to me, right? And following, and maybe even having questions. And again, I invite you anytime to ask. You can either ask directly and interrupt just auditorily, or you can send me a chat. And at the same time, there's an unconscious part of you that may just want to let go, to go deeper inside. Now, what I've experienced with meditation, the coaching, let's say, would be breathe and just let the thoughts go. Right? And mindfulness, it would be, being present, watching your thoughts and being present and bringing yourself to the here and now. And the stress management would be noticing, your breathing and, really having a practice on how to inhale from the diaphragm and exhale, right? And in our hypnosis induction, that is a very similar way we begin. All of those could be part of the hypnosis. So the beginning is physiologically the same. And that's interesting, right? That perhaps in this culture of, our time right now, that everything's come to realizing how important it is to stop and focus and pause, right? And so however you're doing that, you'll notice, sometimes the thoughts don't go away, right? Like you're watching the thoughts and they don't go away. Or maybe you get distracted by some sounds that are somewhere close by or just somewhere off in the distance. I don't know, if your eyes are open, it may be that you notice something and you start to get caught in that, or if your eyes are closed, that you wonder if you're falling asleep and you say, oh, find your way back, right? Because it's sleep-like, the Greek word for hypnosis, or the definition, is sleep, but we're really not in that sleep state. We're in a light, relaxed area. And then you can even ask yourself, oh, are you in trance? Right? Because we talk a lot about trance. And again, as we modeled Milton Erickson, he would talk about trance as a natural phenomenon. It may be that you become entranced when you are in nature. All the different aspects, some people will take themselves to the ocean or a body of water. Other people like mountains, forests, different ways of experiencing nature. And the natural phenomena of trance may even occur by looking at art or feeling the rhythm of music or watching a candle playing. Right? It all happens very naturally. And so wherever you are, this moment, again, is close to all those different models, isn't it? Meditation, mindfulness, and stress management. So how do we how do we differentiate? Where does the hypnosis start to have its own identity? And it begins with the suggestions, this curiosity of maybe those thoughts don't have to be watched. Maybe those thoughts don't have to go anywhere. Maybe you welcome those thoughts, just recognizing even as I'm speaking, there may be some part of you that's saying, okay, this is what I want, or I wish this was be what would happen. Or, why doesn't she do this or that, right? There's always something. It may even be that you're looking at yesterday or the future. So the suggestion is how to have both the conscious mind and the unconscious at the same time. How to welcome the thoughts. If you couldn't have this conscious mind, you wouldn't be able to follow any of these suggestions, would you? So the conscious mind is so valuable. And at the same time, there's this feeling, curiosity, this openness somewhere deep, deep within you. The unconscious representing symbols and unknown experiences or memories, and just allowing yourself to feel what it's like to have both moving back and forth. Now, this is the beginning of doing some kind of trance work. And perhaps there's some guided meditation that's similar, right? But usually, in the Ericksonian style, I don't know where you're going, and you get to go there now. So the suggestion is that there is a part of you somewhere that wants something. And when you're a client or when you're a student, you might even have talked about it, So a student may say, I'm having fears about my future, and I want to be able to understand. Or another student may say, I'm getting ready to move to another city, and I really want to be comfortable starting, over again. Right? So all different goals. And I wonder what it would be like for you to, even right now, invite yourself, and it's always interesting, right? Because people say, well, is it my conscious mind that wants something? Is it my unconscious? And to be okay with whatever comes up. Sometimes the only way to discover the language is with the conscious mind. And yet when you go deeper and you settled into a place that helps you really connect to yourself, whether it's nature or art, some kind of music, or even another person, and you go deeper inside and ask, what is it that I really want? And again, with a client, it's very possible that they would tell me, in our hypnosis, it doesn't always have to be the hypnotist, the hypnotherapist leading without any verbal feedback. The idea that you could come out and speak and then go back deeper is absolutely okay. So even while you're working right now, you might consider this as more of self-hypnosis, that you're interacting with yourself. And if you had a pen and paper, you could come out for a moment and write down, what is it that you want? And then you just let yourself go back into a place of deep breathing, slowing down, trusting that the conscious mind is there, right? Welcoming any thoughts and deepening to opening to this mystery, the unconscious. Now, I don't know with whoever is here today whether you've really established what you want. It's a very broad question, isn't it? What you want for your entire life, what you want for today. Is it to get contextual, what I want with a person, what I want in my job, whatever it is. I want to feel healthy, right? There's so many possibilities. And underneath that is often some part that is not giving you what you want. If it's a symptom, if you say, I want to feel better, I want to feel healthy, I want to release the tension in my neck or my head, then we would say there's a part of you that has tension. Right? Or I want to think more positively about myself and have more confidence. And you say, okay, there must be a part of you that's not feeling confident. So if that's what's occurring for you now, you welcome that part of you. Welcome the part that hasn't given you what you wanted, and this is the relationship you're developing deep within. This is a process. It's a process of hypnosis being a communication of ideas, of giving you possibilities of altering your state, right? You're here. You can also be at the beach or the forest or seeing some art wherever you took yourself. And then you can discover the curiosity of, well, what is it that you want and what's stopping you? Now, the possibility is that one or two of you would say, nothing's stopping me, and that's great. You just say, great, I'm going for it. I'm moving forward. And then you start to see the future, right? It's not just visual, but auditory. You set yourself up for how you want to be, and you imagine it, and then you live into that. And that's sometimes we get people who just know exactly what they want, and they just want to polish. They just want to really be at their best, And there are also people who come in as clients or students who are just some reason stuck. They're not too stuck because they have the ability to come to a class, right? You know what it takes, right? To be organized, to show up today, right? To maintain your commitment to something you signed up for. And here is the moment you can open to the suggestion, right? Hypnosis is communication of ideas. Open to the suggestion that part of you has some positive intention. There's something that part's doing for you that's been holding you back from getting your goal. And it may be clear, or it may be an acknowledgement of you being able to say, I trust there's something you're doing for me. And we don't always get answers. Sometimes we want answers. That's that conscious mind wanting to know all the time. But sometimes it's about not knowing. Inside of that, there may be a resource that would help you get what you want. Doesn't sound like that good old song, right? Can't always get what you want, but you can try sometime. You just might get what you need. What resource? And this idea of resources comes through with, is it confidence? Is it compassion for self or patience? Is it forgiveness? So many possibilities. One way to reflect on resources is just to take in the broadest stroke resourcefulness. How to be resourceful in general. How to be resilient. Now, what is it like to pick a resource? The conscious mind may say it, the unconscious may say it. You take a moment and realize the hypnotist doesn't necessarily give you the resource. It may be more of a cooperation. As I suggested before, sometimes our students or clients would speak and say, I need more compassion, or I need more courage. I want more confidence. And if you like to write it down, this is also that time where you could write down your resource state or not. Begin to feel the openness and permissiveness of the trance. It's very possible that you've gone somewhere else, and that's okay. We're in a space right now where we're exploring a resource if you want to go there. And because the suggestion is that you have all the resources you need, you actually go on a journey. And it could be just from this morning, or it could be from last week. But, I have several decades, so I get to go back lots and lots of decades searching for something, searching, when was I courageous, and oh yeah, when I was 10 years old and I had to do a tap dancing recital, right? But the unconscious doesn't really count the years. It's really there for you. I have that courage. So the suggestion, when you're really open to going deeper, finding your comfort level, is to select a memory. Now, a client of mine recently said, oh yeah, I have lots of memories of a time when I was resilient, which is wonderful. And then I asked her, pick one for now. So as you find your one memory of a resource state that will be helpful for you in your want, in your goal, will be helpful for that part of you that's been getting in the way. You go deeper into the memory. Now, these memories would be something very positive. If you're my client, there may be memories that are not always positive, and we would work with you. But right now, only select something where you are really clear. This is a really good place for you to remember. How does anybody remember something so different? Right? A lot of people talk about the body, how the body holds the memory, right? How the body keeps the score. So feel in your body, just where you were doing. Discover for yourself what you're seeing through your eyes and what you're hearing. And I may be going slowly for you or too quickly. So you just find the right amount of time within yourself to really experience that memory of that resource now. That's right. Isn't it nice to know that you can do this? And you could even bring that feeling, that intensity, increase that intensity so that you can really connect to that resource now. That's right. Feel where your body is. Feel what your breath is doing now. And determine if it feels too intense, you can actually decrease the intensity, can't you? All of this is you in your exploration. And because I'm not working with you individually, and again, in our classes, we would all be on screen and I would be observing you. Some of you may want more time, some of you may feel complete. But just to know that as we're coming closer to the end of this process, to invite that resource to connect with that part of you that has perhaps been getting in the way, inviting a way now that you could begin to see the next day or the next week, wherever this situation would be, or maybe it's right now. Sometimes the conscious mind wants it immediately, right? Like clients will say, how many sessions do I need? And, the idea is like, notice even this moment that's changing. Will it be a 180? Nobody can drop, 50 pounds within the next 20 minutes. But each one of you could start to have a shift towards whatever would be better for you. In degrees, right? What do we really have control over? The self, and being able to pay attention to your thoughts, your feelings, your behaviors. And as we're closing, just take a moment. Perhaps there's something you want to say. You may have your own disciplines. You may have worked on yourself lots of times, or maybe this is the very, very first time. And as you're connecting with that self, just say or do whatever you need to as a closing with appreciation and gratefulness. And then next 30 seconds, we'll have you come on back, which means reorienting. If your eyes have been closed, open your eyes. If there's something that you want to share and you want to come off screen, you can share. Or if you want to just talk to me from the not showing yourself view, that's okay. So I invite everybody, I'm going to raise my voice a little bit, right? Shift out of the trance state and welcome you all back. I don't know if anybody wants to take a moment to say, oh, how long was that, right? How long were we working in that frame? You can, notice that sometimes time gets distorted in our hypnosis process. So just checking in, anybody want to share anything? I know, Jan, you've been in art training years ago, so if there's something you want to share. I don't know anybody else on this Zoom call today, but anybody, any comments, any questions? Are you all here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi.
What's your first name?
My name is Veronica.
Hi, Veronica.
Okay. Well, I have an issue of diet and foods that are supposedly not good for me. I know that. Conscious mind. I know that.
Yeah.
So I followed your process.
Yeah.
I went down. I got a memory from childhood, and it was a memory of seeing someone hurt themselves with food because they had been verbally abused. It was someone in my life when I was about 5 years old. And I absorbed that into my own history. It was very revealing. Then the second thought that came up was, boy, I really want to have the food that's problematic. And I got a nauseous reaction.
Interesting. So many different experiences. Yeah. So one of the things, Veronica, right?
Yes.
One of the things, Veronica, is even in this moment, you could see that in our hypnosis process, the ending we call the reorientation, which is now with what you're sharing, is actually still part of the hypnosis, because even though we're talking, we become very curious. Oh, well, that's really interesting, isn't it? That there's this very specific memory about somebody who you witnessed having to absorb the food, right? And then almost simultaneously, it's, I guess sequentially, the part of you was like, oh, I want that food, but then you got nauseous, right? Like something's changing. And Dr. Erickson, who we model the Ericksonian hypnosis, often at the end would give his client, well, he called them patients, but we're more in this century, we could say clients. He would give them a homework assignment. He would say a task, right? And sometimes it would be the client, but this is the way you sort of take your work on. So it's not just like, oh, in this session, but the question, Veronica, would be, what would you do tomorrow in regards to this? Is there something, some people would say, like, I'll keep a journal, or I'll talk to that part of myself before I eat, or, do you have any thoughts about what you might do, like take it on the road now? How would you take this learning?
I would use sense memory of the nausea that I just felt.
Okay.
Then I would just stay with that. Rather than override it, I would hold on to that sense memory. And I have so many suggestions from so many nutritionists on what I should eat.
Of course.
But they're not right for me. They're not right for me. That's why I could feel what I really wanted, which was good for me. I could feel something good.
Well, that's nice. Well, one thing you're describing with sense memory and to everybody is getting in touch when it comes to food, which could also be alcohol or some kind of drugs that do some numbing, right? That become learning how to feel our bodies. And nausea is surely something you wouldn't want to feel regularly, right?
Yeah.
But to have it as a signal, because you may have lost communication with your body. So part of what we do in the Ericksonian is we reframe, right? Just like we say the part's been doing something for you, to say, oh, great, this is helping you get back in touch with your body so that you can feel. And I will wish for you that you won't only feel nausea, because that's not a pleasant feeling, but that you'll start to actually feel pleasure as well. And, if you're thinking about taking the training, like, we would break all that down in terms of just what we did in that session, right? Like, one of the things we talk about is Milton Erickson, the way he spoke to clients. And we call it the language pattern. So we would spend, we have these classes that are 10 to 2, right? So we might spend an hour going over all the language patterns. And then, I could say, oh, Veronica, let's do a demonstration, right? And I would do the language patterns. And then Veronica, another partner would work together. So we take something very big, like I just did in a class, we break it down. If I'm working as a therapist, it would be something like what we just did, I don't have to teach my clients all the pieces, but thank you so much for sharing. And I hope that you'll discover better ways of taking care of yourself.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else want to share anything in our processes? I know one person came in late, but I will go over all the logistics for you all. But again, please, chat with me or let me know even after the process is the introduction's over. You can always email us at info@nlptraining.com. So, okay, so let's go into the logistics again. Okay, what we have available are classes, right? You take one. I'm going to talk about 3 options, but you pick one. And really, we've had wonderful success. I don't know if you've read research about telehealth, or teleclasses, but they have been really going well. So just like this, but please remember, anybody who comes to class, we are on screen, that we are really become a community on screen. And we use the demonstrations, we use breakout rooms that, we always teach people how to do that. If you're not comfortable with it, So in that, we have Fridays beginning June 23rd. It goes through December 8th, and it's from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And just so you know, we always do a month ahead as a lower rate. So by May 23rd, the rate would be $2,395. And if you do it after that, then it's $2,795. So you have a savings of $400. Sometimes people would like to pay in monthly payments. If you're going to do that, it's charged at the full rate. And it's based on how many months we're going, right? So the Friday would be 5 months, and you always pay a deposit, which is $595. And then for the Friday class, it's $440 a month. That's the same thing if you said Fridays aren't good and June 23rd doesn't work as a beginning. The next option, also online on Zoom, is a Saturday beginning October 14th. Now we're getting into a lot of holidays, right? October. So, we're not doing classes around Thanksgiving or Christmas or New Year's. There's 1 or 2 other ones that we're not doing because of conferences that we have to attend, but it's all marked online. The price is the same, and the payment plan is again a 5-month payment plan, and it's $440 per month. Now, I made a mistake telling you about the in-person. The hours are different on the in-person. So I don't know how many of you say, I prefer in-person, but we did, start again with in-person in New York City. And we have a space that we use on West 57th Street between 6th and 7th Ave. And we will do in-person beginning at the end of October on Sundays. Now that is actually 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. So different hours, right? And because it's different hours, it will end different time. It's going to be a little different than the 10 to 2. It's actually a 4-month program. And so it's $650 per month if you pay the payment plan. But just remember, we always need that $595 as a deposit. Or you can say, I want to save the money, I'll pay in full. It's always a month before. So again, when you go on our website, nlptraining.com, and you go straight to hypnosis, you'll see it. But if you want assistance, just call me or email me, and I'm very happy to walk you through it. And, on that note about classes, I've mentioned, obviously, I work with clients. I work with couples. My partner, Stephen Leeds, and I both will see couples and clients. We're not really doing hypnosis with couples per se. It would be more one-on-one, but on occasion, both couples need a moment to center and ground themselves, but it's usually more in the direct communication. Nonetheless, we're doing most of that online with the possibility of in-person with either Stephen or myself in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, and then one of our training staff in New York City would rent an office. So those are all the logistics. You can really hear the difference, right? When the full conscious mind is kind of rattling off numbers and dates and times, right? What's so important is checking in with yourself, feeling, how does this feel? Did you get the questions answered that you wanted? If there is something else, I'm happy to stay online to talk with you. And if you want to have a talk in private, just send me the chat, and I'll wait a little bit for you to do that. So just right now, we're coming to the close of the hour. Anything else that would help anybody with making a decision about taking a hypnosis training, or curious about our NLP and you just want some clarification? So once again, anybody, anything? All good?
Having done it all, Rachel, I would just encourage people. It's something that you keep for your life, for yourself and or your clients, or or your interpersonal relations. It's something that's available and stays with you. So it's an enduring gift, I think. So just to give you that, that over the decades awareness of
Your
keeping it
endorsement
and using it, right?
Thanks. Yeah. Well, I feel like I grew up with all of this. I started in 1981 with my first NLP training. I had a master's in dance movement therapy at that time. So, I was pretty clear about stress management, but I really didn't understand the hypnosis and I didn't use this expression before, but the idea of artfully vague, to really let and give you your own experiences. That was very influential. And so, decades and decades, Jan, of having this all different developmental periods of my life, and continue to be. And what's lovely is, like hearing from you, Jan, because, you did training with us a long time ago. And really, it does happen, often around the holidays, we'll get like somebody who will send a note saying, by the way, thinking of you, happy holidays. And your training has influenced my life, or, you know, this group that we worked with really made a difference, right? It's always, it's so heartwarming to know that, because I guess, you know, on my level of purpose, it's about helping people find, you know, the magic within, you know, and their own potential. So I'll close for now. I'll stop recording, and I'll say online, in case there's anybody who wants a quick personal question. And thank you very much for attending. Have a nice day.
Thank